hello, my students. This video is for all the U.S. history students, both AP U.S. history as well as regular U.S. history. Okay, try to get rid of that glare a little bit for you guys. What I want to do is just give you a video. I was trying to think of the best way to do this, so I'm just making a quick video for you to talk about the final exam. Okay, so that's what this is intended to do, and I don't have a PowerPoint. I just have me talking, so it's not going to take very long at all. Just the things to keep in mind with the final exam. I will make this clear as you get your prompt, but it's going to be a document that's going to be shared with you, Google Doc, and you're going to write on that and write your responses on there. The big thing to keep in mind is try hard on this. Write well. Write as much as possible within reason. You don't have to write 20 pages or anything like that. But it should take you at least an hour, between 1 and 2 hours. You should be writing and elaborating and explaining and supporting your answer with historical evidence. That's really kind of the thing to keep in mind. There's various questions. There'll be a question that sort of says something to the extent of summarizing the movie that you watch. So give me a summary, in a paragraph or two. It's not going to be, please don't go on for like 5 pages about the movie. I don't need to know every detail. Think big picture, right? And then summarize the big picture with really relevantly the historical information, because this is a history class. So make it relevant to that. There is a question that will have you kind of analyze the content, and is it accurate? Is it do they recount American history well? And so since you know something about and I'm not asking for you to research all the details, but since you know about American history, does this seem to be a good, accurate representation of it? I hope you can kind of see the difference between, you're not necessarily saying, oh, well, this person had blonde hair and the actor had brown hair, and that's not accurate. Like that's not what we're interested in, right? Like that doesn't really matter. But as someone who knows the big picture of American history, does this make sense? Does it correspond to that? And does it correspond to, your understanding from the textbook and from research of that general topic, whether it's like the civil rights movement or the space race or September 11th. After reading about the topic, you're like, oh yeah, this definitely fits along with that. It's not like saying something totally off the left field. So being able to discuss that intelligently, and of course, when you discuss things intelligently, you use examples, and you show what you're meaning, and you explain things, and that's really what I'm looking for. Keep in mind, let me just say this right now while I'm thinking about it. Also, when you discuss things and write about things intelligently, you use regular English grammar. So please capitalize your sentences. Please, use punctuation, all that kind of stuff. Look over it, proofread it. It does not have to be absolutely perfect. Everyone is going to make mistakes on these things, but it is just laziness to see. It's laziness on your part, and I see your laziness when I'm just looking, and there's lowercase I think that blah blah blah, and stuff like that. Like, no, you won't make a good grade, and you will prove to me that you're lazy. So please don't prove that. You want to prove to me that you know something about American history. That's the whole goal here. So just keep the goal in mind. Your job is to prove to me that you know about American history and can talk about it intelligently, not to prove to me that you're lazy. I hope that's abundantly clear. So, summary, summarize the movie kind of question, historical accuracy. And then there's a question that and all these you're going to be writing a few paragraphs on. There's a question that really gets to analyzing kind of why the filmmakers did what they did. why did they include these things, or why did they sell this story? And it really asks you to put some thought behind the movie that you've seen, and hopefully by reading those reviews and writing about them today, you will be able to do this. This is a more difficult question, but try to show some good thought. It's a pretty open-ended. There's not a right or wrong answer per se, but you're going to need to show that you've thought about, oh, well, they did this, but they didn't do that. They left this out, or they included this. Why would they do that? Let me give you an example, and this is not an example of a movie that you guys would be able to watch. But if you've ever seen the movie, I recommend that you watch it. The movie Patton, about General George Patton from World War II. And it is, it's a kind of biographical movie about Patton. In the movie Patton, it portrays Patton as very gruff, which he was. It portrays him as very flawed. And this is, kind of an American hero. And it's like, why would the movie be so kind of gritty and flawed portrayal of this American hero? But step back and think about the context in which the movie was made. It was made in 1970, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. And we were well into the Vietnam War. Things weren't going really well. People's perception of the American military had shifted significantly by 1970. And although they weren't trying to make Patton out to be this monster, they also weren't trying to smooth out the rough edges. They were trying to show him in all his like flawedness. I don't know what that better word. It's warts and all kind of portrayal of Patton, and it makes sense in the context that the movie was made. Okay, so if the movie deals with this issue, look when the movie was made and say, oh, well, that was important in this time. And if you know American history, you should be able to kind of put some thought. And maybe it's speculation. Maybe you can say, well, possibly. That's okay to say possibly. You don't have to be dogmatic about these things, but you can also need to be thoughtful about it. So perhaps, possibly, those kinds of things, totally acceptable, especially for the third question on there. So first question has to do with summary. Second question has to do with just evaluating the movie's accuracy historically. The third question, and I'm not giving you the exact question, but the third question certainly has to do with decisions that the filmmakers made, and having you analyze those kinds of things and doing some really higher level thinking about why they're choosing to tell the story the way they're telling it. And another way to approach that question could be to kind of analyze, why do they think that this story about the American history needs to be told? Because filmmakers are, in a sense, history teachers. Like, they are communicating a story and things about American history. And so why are they choosing to include this and not that? Why are they choosing to tell this story and not this other story? So, thinking about why and their kind of worldview and their background may be really helpful to you, and certainly what you're asked to do. And then lastly, the last question, I just want to warn you right now, this is one reason I'm doing this video, and I want you to kind of be thinking, but the last question is not going to have anything to do with the film, but I am going to ask you to think about events in American history, and just kind of key moments, key things that you've learned about in this class, and be able to elaborate on them and explain why they're so significant. Okay, so that doesn't have to do with the film. It's just kind of an overall, what I want you to think about is like, well, what am I going to remember, or what should I remember 10 years from now? I hope you remember something 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, or when your kids are in high school and you're like, oh yeah, it's really important that you know such and such. So that's the last kind of question for you to kind of evaluate those, kind of evaluate, rank, whittle down the key moments, and explain why they're so significant. Okay, so anyway, that's what you're being asked to do in this video, or I'm sorry, that's what you're being asked to do on the essay. That's why I made the video. and it'll take you an hour to an hour and a half probably of writing. Shouldn't take you that much longer. Again, use correct English grammar. Try your best. Don't give me 2-sentence answers, please. Please explain. Some of you guys love to just write yes or no kind of things, and that's just not gonna fly. And I just don't want to fail anyone because they're based on this, but I will, because you can't do that. It's just you don't deserve a good grade or even a passing grade if you give those kinds of answers. So anyway, elaborate, explain, support your answer, and you should be fine. All right, thank you. God bless.